Welcome, Ute fans, to another episode of The Extra Point, brought to you by the Ken Garff University Club and presented by UteFans.net, the original home for Ute fans. Where's Cal?
It's Mr. Beck to you first graders at home. Unfortunately, it sounds like Cal is a little under the weather. Obviously, as a classroom full of students, he has to make sure he's taken care of, so he's unfortunately not here today. Hopefully he's at home resting, Cal.
We miss you, Cal, if you're watching. So let's talk UCLA. Dominant defensive performance for the Utes. What do you think about that performance, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, you start the first play with a pick six. One of two touchdowns scored last Saturday, unfortunately, for the offense. But anytime a top 25 team comes in and you take care of business, I don't care what the fashion is, what the score is. A win is a win. That's all that Kyle and company are judged on. And it was a big one. UCLA is a good program. Defense obviously stood out. Offense has some things to clean up, but a win is a win.
And we were sitting next to Gabe Reed.
That was phenomenal.
Renee's brother.
To watch him watch his brother was almost at times more captivating. Just to see his pure joy for the pick six, seeing him make tackles was a very different experience than I've ever had in Rice-Eccles, seeing just like pure happiness.
Yeah, Gabe jumped over a row of chairs when Karene picked off that pass.
It was fun, and obviously he's been on the show a handful of times.
Yeah, we love Gabe.
Yep, supporter of Ute fans. It was fun to sit and watch the game with him as a defensive guy and just talk about stuff, what Scally likes to do and what the offense does. It was a good time.
So here's the big question. Every Ute fan wants to know, does Cam Rising play this week against Oregon State?
Yeah, I think this is what, week 4, right? Week 4, game 4?
This is game 5.
Game 5. For 5 weeks, we've talked about it on the show. I think we've asked about it on the show. I'm at the point where if he plays, it's great. It's a pleasant surprise. But at this point, being 4-0 without him,
amazing.
You roll with what you got. Kyle embodies the next man up mentality, always has. Nate's done nothing but win. And so at this point, I'm on the Nate Johnson train.
I got to ask a question about Cam really quickly, and I think, Jordan, you're going to have some expertise on this. What's it like coming back from a major injury like this when you're sitting out every week, not sure you're going to play?
Yeah.
What do you think Cam's going through psychologically here?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely dealing with some things. Anytime you have surgery, you're going to have some doubts. I think the uniqueness, my situation versus Cam's is I always knew I was going to play week 1 for all of my surgeries. That's not the case with Cam. He's still rehabbing. He's still trying to get back to 100%, still trying to get back into the groove of things. And so psychologically, I think it's just getting comfortable again. Anytime you have a major surgery like that, it's, not only the physical side, but the mental side. Can he trust it? Can he run on it? Can he plant on it? All these things weigh in your mind. The fans are in here Saturday, but it's like Sunday night when you're alone, Monday night when you're alone, Tuesday night when you're alone, Wednesday night when you're alone. How do you really feel? And it wouldn't surprise me if he's dealing with some things like that. But I know he wants to be out there. Obviously a great player, and it would only improve the Utes offense if he does come back. If
Cam plays, can we expect to see some rust?
Yeah, probably. The timing, I spoke about it a couple weeks ago. You can only simulate live so well in practice. He's still not getting hit. You have another gear on game day, whether it's adrenaline, whatever you want to call it. And so there's probably going to be a little bit of rust when he does come back. And my honest prediction is we don't see him tomorrow night and they go on the bye. Give another couple weeks to come back.
That seems to be the consensus, is that we're not going to see Cam this week. So we're going to see Nate Johnson.
Let's go. Ride with him.
Hey, next man up.
Next man up.
He's a gamer. He's made some great plays this season.
Yeah.
In order to beat Oregon State, it seems like everyone thinks that we have to move the ball through the air.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the offense as it matches up with Oregon State's really tough defense?
Yeah, I think they're a good defense. I think as Nate continues to improve and gets comfortable in live game situations, you can continue to open up the playbook. Honestly, I would argue they rein him in a little bit, I think he's an incredible runner. And
Oh,
I think
yeah.
if you really opened up the playbook, you would let him run the ball 10 to 15 times a game. But I also think, he's like a stallion. You can't just let him go run 20, 25 times a game or you're going to wear him out. So I think you see a little bit more in the throw game. But you're going to see a similar style of offense. Run the football, get first downs, and ultimately win the game. Take care of the football. He's done a good job taking care of the football. A lot of that continued. He had the fumble. He's had a couple on the ground. But this defense is so talented. What do you do? It's reminiscent of like the Ray Lewis early year Baltimore Ravens teams with Trent Dilfer. Like, run the football, take care of it, don't lose it, and let this defense do what they do, and you're going to be in the game.
So we're going to have to be able to run the ball effectively. We know Jalen Glover is up for the task. Jaquindon Jackson is listed as questionable, and that's questionable for the Utes on Saturday or Friday, excuse me.
Yeah.
So I know it's next man up, but man, we are banged up.
Yeah, no, definitely banged up, and Kyle's talked about it plenty, that this is one of the most banged up teams he's ever started a season with. Jalen had, I think, 25 carries last week.
Yeah, he did.
That weighs on a body, on a running back. It wouldn't surprise me if you see some guys play that maybe haven't played this year. But you got to do it, and you got to run the football. You got to take care of the time of possession, because they're going to run the football too. They play very similarly to Utah. Oregon State does.
That's a very similar program.
Very similar.
Tough defense, smash mouth football, run the ball.
Very similar. And so who can take care of it? Who can play great on special teams? Who can win the fourth quarter? Those are the things that are, I think, ultimately going to decide this game.
I think the spread is 3.5 for Oregon
Utes are plus
State.
3.5, yeah. I'm of the frame of mind. I actually think Utah gets it done. I really do. I think Oregon State showed that they're susceptible on the road to Wazoo, and Wazoo's got a good quarterback who runs around and makes a lot of plays. But I do think they're a little susceptible to get. And I think the Utes know their identity, know what they're going to do to win, and I think they get it done.
So we talk really quickly about Utah's defense, which has been
phenomenal,
unbelievable.
Third in the country in rush defense, I think.
All around, I think we're a top 10 defense.
Yeah, incredible.
It's one of the best defenses I've seen, and just to touch on that UCLA performance, that was incredible. We held them to 7 points.
Yeah, you gave up one series.
Yeah,
is what you did.
Pretty much.
You look at two. It'd be interesting to look at the top 10 defenses, who they've played. Utah's played Florida, Baylor, and now UCLA, and are still a top 10 defense. I mean, that's nothing short of incredible. They do a good job making teams one-dimensional. We've talked about it on the show. You cannot run against this team, which will be interesting because Oregon State likes to run the football. They lead the Pac-12 in rushing. It's a true test to see who gives on Friday night.
I think a key to this game is going to be whether or not we can get pressure on DJU.
Yeah.
Because he gets confused, he gets flustered in the pocket when there's pressure, just like most quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I think he's a pretty good quarterback. He's a Clemson transfer. He's done some good things at Oregon State.
Yeah.
His last 2 games haven't been great.
Yeah.
But we should be worried about him. So we hope we can get some pressure on him.
He's definitely got a strong arm, very capable guy, big guy.
Accuracy is a little questionable.
Yep. And I think Utah's done this all the time. They make you one-dimensional. If I'm Morgan Scalley and Kyle, you go into this and say, make DJ you. I like that you abbreviated his last name. It's tough to say.
I can't say it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can. You make DJ you beat you. Make him throw the ball 30 times.
Yeah.
And I think the Utes are successful if they do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we have a pretty exciting matchup coming up. It's going to be a close game. Keys to victory, Jordan Wynn.
So say I'm a broken record. Take care of the football, score touchdowns when you get in the red zone, play great special teams, win the fourth quarter. I mean, that's it, and that will always be it. It will be interesting. It's a good test on the road in conference. Reeser is renovated. It's loud. They play the chainsaw on third down for the Beavers. It's a good test to see early on how deep the Utes are, how they respond on the road in conference. Because Oregon State's a little bit they're back against the wall. They already have a conference loss. They can't lose another one or they're not going to go to the championship game, right? So they're already on the ropes. So they'll throw everything at the Utes. But again, I'm confident the Utes win. I think it's a low-scoring game. I predicted it last week. I think it is again. I think it's
Can't agree more.
2017,
Yeah.
23-17, something of that nature. A lot of heavy dose of Glover. But I think they come back with a win, rest up, and then get ready for the gauntlet that is November.
I think one concern
October.
that I'll bring up is they just lost to Washington State, and that's a good Washington State
It is.
team. And they've kind of got this wounded animal
Yeah,
mentality.
no doubt.
That's what everyone's worried about this week going into this game is like Oregon State's going to be hungry.
Yeah.
If they lose this game, they're pretty much out of the race for
Correct.
Pac-12 contention.
Correct.
So with that, we'll cut to a commercial from our partner, the Crimson Collective. We'll be right back.
It's a community coming together to support University of Utah student athletes. It's our town, it's our team.
Crimson Collective, I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
We're in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Crimson Collective, our town, our team.
Welcome back to the Extra Point, you fans. I'm joined by Mr. Jordan Wynn. Jordan, we're going to do this segment on you.
This will be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun segment for me, having watched your whole college career at the U. How did you end up at the University of Utah from Oceanside, California? Talk about your recruitment a little bit.
There was a lot of things that had to go the way they went for me to be here. So Utah was my first offer, which had a lot of weight into my recruiting. But I didn't want to play in the Mountain West when I was in high school. I didn't think there was a lot of TV time. I didn't think a lot of guys went to the NFL out of the Mountain West. And so I had a couple back then P5 offers, and I decided to commit to one, which was the University of Colorado. And I'll never forget the couple things that happened. I went on my visit to Colorado, and they played Texas, and Texas was really good, the Colt McCoy years. And they beat Colorado like 60-7 at home. And the team went out that night like they had won. And I just remember thinking, like, do I want to be a part of this? Where, yeah, I'm in the Big 12, but I'm getting shellacked every weekend. And at the time, Utah was going undefeated. Played in the Sugar Bowl, beat Alabama. And the night, actually, they beat TCU. My dad and I had already been talking about it. That
TCU, November 6, 2008. That
got
game.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. 14-10, I think, was the final.
13-10.
That night, my dad and I had already been talking about it because Colorado was mismanaging my recruitment a little bit, and Dave Schramm at Utah was calling me every week, using his one phone call every week. We want you to come here. We want you to come here. And that night ended. We watched it at the home of Sam Brenner. Shout out Sam with the Miami Dolphins right now. We went to high school together. And we watched it at their house. We left, and we both kind of looked at each other, and I was like, I need to go to Utah. And I committed the next day to Kyle, and that's how I ended up here.
So fast forward to October 31st, 2009.
Good night.
At Utah versus Wyoming.
Blackout.
I remember at the beginning of that season, I was walking up to the stadium, and there was a lot of speculation about who would start.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy named Terrence Kane, who was the JUCO Player of the Year.
Yeah. Started over Cam Newton at Blinn.
Yeah.
Good player.
Good player.
Yeah.
And so he started off that season, and then that night something happened. Can you walk us through? That game? Because that's I seem to remember a wheel route thrown to Jeremy Brooks.
Yeah, that was a fun night. So I'll take you back. The week prior, we played Air Force here, and we barely beat them in overtime. And like midway through the third quarter, Kyle and Dave Schramm both were like, hey, like, start to warm up. We're probably going to put you in. And I kid you not, the next series, Terrence threw a slant to David Reed, and he took it 70 yards for a touchdown. So I put the headset back on, and I was like, I'm not going in today, which is fine. But all that week, I started taking reps with the ones. Kyle kind of called me into his office and was like, hey, we're either playing you this week or we're not. We want to, save your red shirt if we can. What are your thoughts? And as a 19-year-old, I just wanted to play. So I told him, I'm like, I don't care if you blow my red shirt the last game of the season. I just want to play. That's why I came here. I came here to play. So we're down, I think, 10-3 on Halloween night to Wyoming. And we go into the locker room at halftime, and Coach Schramm looked at me and said, you're going in. And, like, that was it. I'm sitting in my locker. All week I told my dad, I was like, I think I'm going in this week. You should probably come out. And he was like, we'll see. Tells me I'm going in. Coach Tram tells the story. It looks like I saw a ghost. I went white. But yeah, I run out of the tunnel, start warming up, and the rest is history. Threw a wheel route to Jeremy Brooks. Beat Wyoming, which at the time I thought was like the fastest team I'd ever played against, which is silly to think because they were not a good team that year. But yeah, threw a wheel, rode off into the sunset, and
Threw a wheel route into a historic freshman season for the Utes.
yeah, no, I had a good year. The only year I was healthy, which is crazy to think because I was all of 165 pounds that entire season, which is hard to believe for some people watching.
On that note, I gotta say, because I wanted to guess what your 3 biggest victories as a starter were.
Yeah.
So I've got BYU 2011 is a
Okay.
big one, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a big
Is that
one.
Good.
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, I think it's the largest margin of victory in
54
Provo.
to 10, baby.
Yeah, it's my favorite time. 6-9.
Iowa
50 or 54 to 10.
54 to 10.
Yeah.
Iowa State 2010.
That was a good one.
That's a big victory.
Yeah.
And then the Poinsettia Bowl versus Cal.
Yeah, I mean, the Poinsettia Bowl is probably the highlight of my career. I think most Ute fans would agree.
Why?
For a lot of reasons. Personally, we had a good year that year. Once we lost to TCU, it just we weren't going to go to a BCS game, right? So then we lose to the Blue Guys down south at the end, and as a player, you start to think about what your Christmas. As a 19-year-old, this is what you think about. What am I going to do for Christmas? Because we're not playing in a New Year's game. So one of the best case scenarios is the Poinsettia Bowl because you get to play before Christmas. You're going to get to be with your family for Christmas, which doesn't happen a lot in college. For me personally, I really wanted to go to Cal. Tedford at the time was like the QB whisperer. They told me I was too small. They came to Oceanside High and said I was too small. So I had a pretty big personal vendetta against them. Fast forward, we were joining the Pac-12, so it was against the Pac-10 opponent at the time, and it was a chance for me to play back home at Qualcomm. I'm 4-0 in my career at Qualcomm, twice in high school, twice in college. It's just a home away from home for me. And then to go out and throw a pick 6 to start the game, and then bounce back, have the game that I did, win the MVP, is a memory I'll never forget.
338 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah. The Poinsettia Bowl is no longer there, so I think I walk away with some records because they don't play it anymore. I think most completions tie for most touchdowns, somewhere around there. So phenomenal event, phenomenal time. Again, the next spring I had my first shoulder dislocation. So
Right.
little did I know to cherish the moment truly because that was the last time that I was healthy.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to touch on with your story in particular. I mean, 2010 looks to be a really promising year. We start off 8-0,
Yeah.
I think, in league play.
Yeah.
And then what I'm curious about is what didn't the fans know about what was going on with you
Yeah,
in the scenes?
I mean,
'Cause
there's
a lot of stuff
yeah.
going on, right?
It's similar to what Cam is happening right now. Just their fans. People don't know what's going on in the building unless you're in the building. So I look back, that season was crazy because we opened up with Pitt here and I tore ligaments in my thumb and I missed 2 weeks. And I'm, again, 20 and I'm like, this is crazy. I came back from torn ligaments in my throwing thumb in 2 weeks. But it's like, nobody knows or really thinks about it too much. But we went to Iowa State, memorable victory for me, and I took a hit and landed weird on my throwing shoulder, it popped out. And really, struggled that entire season. From that point, it's probably like, this isn't an exaggeration, my throwing shoulders probably popped out close to, over 100 times. Not good. Anytime I'd throw the football, it felt like it was moving. I wouldn't take a lot of reps in practice that whole year. Adrenaline and some things that doctors prescribe go a long way on a Saturday. But I would be in a sling right after the game Saturday night. And so really just limped through that season. We got up to being ranked number 5. And unfortunately, TCU came into town on game day. I think everybody remembers that one. And they were a good football team. But it was a tough year physically, mentally for me, just trying to one, preserve my shoulder, but two, go out and make the plays that I needed to make to keep us in positions to win. And I don't expect the fans to know what that's like or understand, but it's definitely challenging.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, the fans were pretty unfair about what was going on. But
They're fanatics.
To your point, we don't know what's going on with us fans.
Yeah.
So
that's part of it. I think everybody this is entertainment, no matter what we want to call it as an athlete. You're an entertainer.
True.
Nobody in entertainment wants to know that there's going to be a lesser product put out there. And I'm not saying that I was lesser, but it does me no good to come out and say, or for Kyle to say, he's not 100%. It does nothing for anybody. So you gut it out, you find ways, you figure it out. I was fortunate to be surrounded by some really good players that year as well. And didn't finish the way we wanted to, but still a really good year in Utah football history.
So you go down in 2012 against Utah State, and you have to retire. Mm-hmm. What's next in the story for Jordan Wynn?
Yeah, there's a lot. How much time do we have?
I think what I want to touch on is your coaching career briefly, and then what's been going on in your life since then.
Yeah, coaching's crazy. Let me just say that into the camera. Coaching's crazy. I don't think, again, the fans, and again, not that they need to, truly understand the amount of hours that go into coaching, recruiting. You have no time. I don't know how coaches have families. That was one thing. I was fortunate when I was coaching at Hawaii, Fresno State, and then got hired back here. I was single. The amount of hours that are put in. I mean, my first year, I legitimately lived in my office at Hawaii. That's not I slept a few nights. Like, I lived there because the hours are so extreme. So did that for 4 years, moved back to Salt Lake, and was fortunate and blessed to meet my now wife, Brittany. Got married. We have a son, Eli. I'm sure you see him on my social media. I work in healthcare now and thoroughly enjoy it. For all that I miss in football, I love being home every night. I love not having to recruit. I love being able to sit back and enjoy the games and not deal with the stress, the frustrations, the time commitment. But yeah, that's kind of, a real brief summary. There's a lot in there, but love the state of Utah, love Salt Lake City. It's been incredible to not only myself, but to my family. And fortunate to be here, and don't see us leaving anytime soon.
One quick question before we close. Our executive producer wants to know, when you're injured and you're on the sidelines during these games, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, shout out Sonia. It's a really good question, actually.
It really, really is, yeah.
I think as a player being hurt, you're really just trying to help the guy that's playing for you. I would be up in the booth a lot when I was hurt, and I would have a direct line to John Hayes, is who played after I got hurt, and just be a sounding board, give him advice from what I was seeing. And really just try to be his biggest supporter, right? I think when you go down, you still want your team to win, unless you're incredibly selfish, which I wasn't. I wanted Utah to win, and I wanted John to be ultra successful, and so I just tried my best to be there for him. I watched film, gave him my notes of what I saw on tape. On game day, I was his number one fan. I wanted to see him succeed. I wanted to see him win. And then after, you're trying to just get back, you're trying to get back as quick as you can, get back on the field, compete again. Those things are missed when you're sitting up in the booth.
And eating chili with Norm Chow.
Yeah, if you're ever up in the booth at Wazoo, the best bowl of chili you'll ever have. True statement right there.
So, Jordan, thank you for everything you do, everything you've done for the University of Utah, the football program, the athletics department, for UteFans.net. We really appreciate you. And it was just, personally for myself, as a fan watching you on the field, There's nothing like witnessing that heart and determination that you really had. And
Yeah.
you always bounce back, and you were an awesome quarterback.
Appreciate that.
My favorites. So, and we'll be right back after a commercial from our sponsor, the Ken Garff University Club.
The Ken Garff University Club in Rice-Eccles Stadium is Utah's premier social club. Members enjoy incredible dining experiences, co-working spaces, exclusive member events, and fun game experiences like tailgating, pep rallies, and watch parties. Membership starts as low as $80 a month and is actively accepting new memberships. To learn more about joining this beautiful club, go to kengarfuniversityclub.com to learn more.
Hey, you fans, thanks for watching another episode of The Extra Point, brought to you by the Ken Garff University Club and presented by UteFans.net, the original home for Ute fans. Check us out on all streaming platforms and check us out on Instagram at UteFansNet. Stay tuned for our next show and go Utes!